You back to our new segment. This is Mr. Robert Allen. Mr. Robert Allen has influenced more people for good financially than anybody else I know. And I'm so grateful that he's on today. We have people from all over the world that are joining us in all kinds of different ways. And I'm so grateful to introduce my good friend, Mr. Robert Allen. He's the author of many, many books. And if you want to see something kind of fun, if you read through books, you're going to see many of my deals. You can see my whole life progression. The third real estate deal I ever did that's in the book, The Road to Wealth, all the way to multiple streams of income, where I've got multiple, 7 buildings, 28 units that I bought with nothing down, that I used his techniques to be able to do. So I'm going to introduce you to my good friend, Mr. Robert Allen. He's going to take it away. And again, Bob, thank you so much for having such a wonderful impact on so many people from all over the world. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you very much. Let's give a hand to Tom for all the good work he's doing all around the world. And how many hundreds of people who are here on this call now on Facebook and however he's broadcast it. He's mentioned my name many times, but there wouldn't be a Robert Allen without Tom Painter, because during a very upside down time in my life, after an avalanche had destroyed our mountain home, the insurance wouldn't pay, and I was kind of tail between my legs, going off to start all over again. And Tom showed up and said, let's do it again. And so Tom Painter talks about all the successful students that we had, but Tom, check the Tom's name next to all of those successful students. He's the one that made it happen. And so if I have any fame at all, it's because of my partnership with Mr. Painter, Tom. And now he's calling this a legacy project, that he's sharing this information with people around the world totally free. So this foundation is fantastic. It's changing people's lives and planting money seeds all over the world. So Thomas, congratulations on this amazing legacy project. He's so passionate about it. He talks about how many hours the people have been watching the different videos, etc. 100,000 hours as of today. So Thomas, congratulations. It's just amazing. So when somebody comes up to me and they ask me, Robert, what's one thing I should do if I want to be really successful? What's one thing that really is important in the process of me becoming very successful? They ask me, and which book should I read, or which habit should I form? Which seminar should I go to? What's the foundation? What's the most important thing that you can do? And my answer is already very simple. And yet it's a message that you've heard many, many times, but the real question is, do you do it? Sometimes you hear a message, you go, oh yeah, I heard that, thank you, that was great. But if it doesn't get done, and if it doesn't get done habitually, over and over and over and over and over again, then eventually it doesn't grow into this massive tree of success that you want for yourself. So here's the simple question I ask them. What do you want? That's the question. I come right back to them, and they say, well, yeah, what do I need to do? They're asking me a question. I ask them a question back. What do you want? And they'll say things like, well, I want to be financially free. And I'll go, well, that's a nice concept. What does that really mean, financial freedom? And they go, well, that means, I'm financially free. Money comes in, I don't have to go work for it. And I go, well, your brain is a computer, so it needs a number. So what's the number for your financial freedom? And most of the time, people, they don't even equate the concept of financial freedom with a number. And therefore, their brain doesn't know how to compute it either. It's like, what does that really mean? So I'll get really specific with them. I say there are 7 questions that you need to ask yourself constantly, every day, actually, every day. What do I really want? No, really, what do I really, really want? And when do I want it? See, in order for you to have a dream, it has to have a deadline. So that's a when. What do I want? Specifically. If it's a relationship, okay, good. That's one relationship. I'm looking for a relationship and I want it to last. That's a number. The number one relationship. If it's health, well, what's your weight? If you don't have the weight and the vital signs that the doctor, when you go to the doctor, they take your vital signs. So you say, I want to be healthy. That's not enough information for your brain to compute. What are your vital signs? What's the numbers? What's your blood pressure? What's your heart rate? What's your blood sugars? How much do you weigh? What's your muscle mass? These are all numbers. And most people, they don't go to this level. They only just give you basic concepts like, I want to be healthy. I want to have love in my life. I want to have lots of free time. I want to be able to travel around the world. They don't put any specifics to it. You've heard this a million times from all kinds of different mentors in your life. And yet, this is a habit you should do every single day. You should wake up in the morning and you should go, okay, there are 7 questions I need to ask myself today. What do I really want? Because life is condensed into a single day. You wake up in the morning, you're born. You go to bed at night, you die. Your entire life is a single day. And therefore, during that single day, you have to accomplish certain things. You have to do things that will help you achieve the kind of life you want. And every single day, you have to decide yourself, where do I want to be 5 years from now? And how can I invest a little bit of time today so that 5-year objective will be realized? And most people, they don't do that. They procrastinate it. They get up in the morning, they got to go to work, they got to take care of their family, they got to fix the meals, they got to travel. Most of the time it's tied up in the daily activities, the daily things that they got to do. And yet, in order to achieve a greatness in your life, that greatness doesn't happen immediately. It's tiny little baby steps that you take every day that eventually create a greatness. They talk about, how you have to have 10,000 hours invested into some major skill that you're learning to be really massively successful. Was it Malcolm Gladwell talks about that in one of his books, that the secret number is 10,000 hours. But you only have 24 hours in a day, so you can't do 10,000 hours in a single day. You have to invest an hour every day for 10,000 days. Or you have to invest 5 or 10 hours a day for how many days that takes, 1,000 days or 100 days. In other words, it takes an investment that you plant a little seed, a baby step every day. And if a day goes by without you literally building towards your greatness, the things you really want, the life you really want to live, the financial freedom you really want to have, the health you really want to build, the relationships you want to grow into your life, all the things that constitute an ideal life. Let's say 5 years from now, it means that every single day you have to invest. You have to squeeze out a little bit of time every day, plant that seed, water that seed every day, fertilize it, take care of that little money tree that you're growing. And every single day you have to work at it. So when people ask me, what should I do, Robert, to have the life of my dreams, to have an ideal life, like your life? You've got wonderful things going on in your life, and you have, talking about my life. And I'll say, well, I do certain things every day. Little tiny things I do every day. I invest in my life, my ideal life, every single day. I don't let a day go by without working on the 3 areas of my life. And so those three areas we all work on, you know. Your body, your brain, and your being. This is the foundation of who you really are. Now you'll notice there's no money in here, because essentially who you really are, it's you get one of these, you get a body, you get one of these, you get a brain, and you get your spirit. That's your being. That's who you really, at the fundamental, deepest level, that's who you brought with you. What came to this life? Was there a life before we got here to this planet? In my opinion, yeah, there was. And that's where our spirit was growing and learning and compounding and experiencing the training that came from the universe, right? And then we decided that, well, let's go to Earth. Why go to Earth? Well, that's because that's just the next stage of our growth. And we learn things on this planet you couldn't learn it any other way. And you learn it very quickly. You know, eternity is a long time. In our lifetime, I'm 74 years old now, so it's gone by so quickly. And soon, I won't be here. I'll graduate to the next world, right? But being here on this planet, we have to ask ourselves the question, how do I build my body, my brain, and my being so that I can be of contribution to this planet? So every single day, this is what I do. I work on my body. I don't exercise as much as I should. No, none of us do. I try to eat well. I certainly take massive vitamins every single day. I do that every single day. Absolutely. My brain, I exercise every day. I don't exercise my body. I do that 3 times a week, but I don't exercise every day. I don't, do push-ups and things like that. I should, I want to, and I will. But in terms of my body, I exercise it every day. I exercise what I eat and how I take care of my body. I exercise my brain. How do you exercise your brain? Well, you study, you read, you listen, you watch, you learn, you take information, and you read good books, and every single day, every day I read. Now, Warren Buffett reads he reads 500 pages a day. That's why Warren Buffett is so rich, because he feeds his mind with so much information every single day. He goes to work. That's almost all he does during the day is just read and study. And then he applies that knowledge to his wealth. That's why has a net worth of $100 billion, because he feeds his mind constantly. And then his spirit. Oh, what about your spirit? How do you exercise your spirit? Well, most people don't. They really don't spend much time thinking about spirit stuff, about the universe, however you refer to your God. I call my God my Heavenly Father. And therefore, how do I connect with my Heavenly Father? Well, I had a wonderful thing happen to me on March the 15th, 2003. I'll never forget that day. It was actually in the evening of March the 15th. And that day changed my life. And it was a wonderful thing that happened to me. And in a sense, it was also a terrible thing, because my car ran off the road in the middle of a rainstorm in Southern California. It doesn't rain very often there, and hit a big tree and almost killed me. And I woke up in the hospital. I'll still remember that, waking up and seeing my wife and my couple of my kids at my bedside. And they had just taken me out of a coma. My coma, I had been brought out of a coma, and I began to realize, hey, life is short. And I asked myself a question: if I had died last night, when I graduated into the next world, I would have had this experience that Tom talks about, where you see your life spin in front of your life, all the different pictures of things you've taken from your lifetime experience. I said, when I meet my maker, will I be able to say to him, you know, Heavenly Father, you were always first in my life. You were first. And the truth was, no, I would not have been able to answer that affirmatively. I would have been able to say, you know, you were there. You were important from time to time. Maybe on a Sunday when I'm at church, I'm thinking about you, but most of the week, I'm just thinking about my businesses and my family. And no, I wasn't a bad person. I'm not saying that, you know, I was evil in any way. I was a pretty good guy, but I had never put him first. And so this morning, this has now been 19 years from March the 15th, 2003. This morning, in my office right here, I read spiritual words, and I got down on my knees this morning before I talked to you. Why? Well, because I was awakened. I woke up. Had a wake up call, as they say, on the March the 15th. And I realized I'm never going to let a day go by from this day forward without waking up in the morning and realizing the day starts. It's almost as if my entire life is in one day. And I want to make sure during this day, September the 22nd, 2022, during this day, I wanted to make sure I put my spirit first. And therefore, if this day is my last day, I'll be able to say to my Heavenly Father, today, you were first in my life. You're number one. So these are things I do to exercise my body, brain, and spirit. And so when somebody asks me, what is my ritual? You know, I have specific things that I do every single day. And why bring in spirit stuff, Robert? Why are you even talking about that? Well, let me ask you a question. You know, Tom is teaching you how to plant seeds and money seeds. These are investments that you make in the S&P 500. 500 of the largest corporations in the world. You should put money there every single month. I do. You should. Warren Buffett has a company called Berkshire Hathaway. He's the smartest guy on the planet in terms of money. Maybe I should be investing in his Berkshire Hathaway or Berkshire Hathaway B stock, which I can buy for, you know, a very small amount of money, really. When Warren Buffett dies, he's 90-ish, I think. Well, he's not too much longer for this planet. Well, what will happen to Berkshire Hathaway? I think he's got it figured out. I think it'll maybe have a little dip for a while, but the fundamentals of Berkshire Hathaway are so strong, so powerful. He's taught the principles so well to his team. I think it'll continue long after he's gone. So these are money things that you play. So we take our money and we invest it in the 500 major corporations that are led by the leaders of 500 of the most successful companies on the face of the earth. Apple, for example, is one of those 500 companies. Tim Cook and his entire team has taken the ideas from Steve Jobs, and they've broadened it out to the world and now become the most valuable company in the history of the world. And now that's just one of the 500 companies. So all these smart guys and gals that are leading all these incredible companies, and we're just going to buy a little tiny piece of every single one of them. And ultimately, eventually, over a long period of time, it's going to grow at 7, 8, 10, 11, 12% compounded for 50 years. Hey, that makes you a multi-millionaire. Just invest with these smart people for 50 years and you'll be a multi-millionaire. Just period. Simple. That's what Warren Buffett told. He says, don't do what I do. He says, it takes too much to do what I do. But what you should do is invest in these 500 companies. So we invest in the experience of these 500 major corporate leaders, including Warren Buffett. how did they get this wealth? Where did it come from? Well, you'll find that most of them are givers. Most of them are very charitable. And that's what Tom has been talking about, how important it is to be charitable, to share your wealth with other people. You don't be a stingy person that hangs on every penny. You have to literally open up and to be willing to give. That's the number one secret of all wealth. You have to be a giver, period. You look at all these 500 major corporate leaders, all of them are givers. And if you look at all the billionaires on the planet, there might be a handful out of the hundreds, maybe thousands of billionaires are on the planet. There maybe a handful that are really cheap bastards, excuse the language, but most of them are massive givers, not 10%, 20, 30, 50%, big givers. So when you give like that, you tap into the universe. Now, whatever your belief is about a higher power, does higher power know which stocks are going to go up and down in value tomorrow? Today is a Thursday, so tomorrow's Friday. Tomorrow, does Heavenly Father, God, universe, however you refer to him or her, does God know what stocks are going to go up tomorrow? And when I ask this question in China or Japan or Russia, about a third of the people say, no, he doesn't know that. But 2/3 of the people generally will say, well, yeah, he probably does. Well, isn't that what omniscient means? Omniscient means you know everything. You know from the past, and all the 100 billion people that have been on this planet, have taken a breath on this planet, 100 billion people. We have like 8 billion now, but 100 billion have taken a breath on this planet. And he's watched all 100 billion of them. He's seen how they've invested their time in their life. And he's seen all the experiences they've had, what worked, what didn't work. And he has a plan for everybody. It's a simple plan. Everybody follows it, but most people don't. So, but he's seen all the past, he's seen as a present, he sees the future. This, of course, this is spiritual stuff, and maybe this offends you. Maybe you go, don't talk about that stuff, Robert. This is just not. Remember, you didn't have a car accident like I did. Maybe you didn't have a wake-up call like I did. When you wake up in the morning and you realize you almost died yesterday, you go, I think I'm going to look at life differently. And so this is the experience I had, and this is what I'll share with you today. So yeah, I think Heavenly Father knows exactly which stocks are going to go up tomorrow. Does he know where the real estate deals are right now? Oh yeah. Does he know which business ideas are going to turn into billions? Did he know that computer would come and would be created by Steve Jobs and broadcast by Bill Gates? Did he know that those two guys would probably be one of the leaders of this whole world? Yeah, Bill Gates, yeah, he probably did. He probably realized that Bill would eventually give away all his money to help all the problems that are happening in Africa. And he would go get his best friends, 100 of his best friends, and convince his best friends to give away half of their fortunes, to sign it, to sign an agreement to that. You think God knew that in advance? Yeah, that's why Bill Gates got the computer, because God knew what would happen 50 years down the road. Whether you like Bill Gates or not, every one of us has been blessed by the computers and by iPhones and things like that. So the foundation is every day, okay, what do you want me to do with my life? Am I an entrepreneur, an employee? An employee means I work for somebody else, and I put in my long invested time over 40, 50 years. I make what I call small, slow money. That's where you make a salary over 50 years and you retire. That's an employee lifetime. Are you an entrepreneur? If you're an entrepreneur, you're not happy with small, slow money. You want to make big, fast money. So you have to figure out ways to do that, whether it's real estate or some online program that you create, whether it's some information that you're marketing, some product that you're creating, some entrepreneurial venture you're doing. Maybe you're investing in the stock market. Maybe there are all kinds of ways of making big, fast money. But question is, what do you really want with your life? So these 7 questions, and I'll try to summarize that. And we'll make this first segment about these 7 questions, which are basic, ordinary questions, but these are questions I recommend that you ask yourself every day. Every day. Wake up in the morning, finish with your spiritual stuff, and then say, okay, now what do I do for my brain? My brain means I got a plan. That's what planning is all about. That's exercising your brain. You say, what do I want? Where do I want it? When do I want it? Who's going to help me get it? Why do I want this? How much do I want? And then finally, the last question is, how am I going to get that? If I want to have this ideal life for myself 5 years from now, how am I going to get it? If I want to fund it, if I've got to make enough money to be able to live my ideal lifestyle, how am I going to fund it? What vehicle am I going to use to get me there? Well, there'll be vehicles, as I shared. Some of your vehicles will be jobs, and that's the vehicle you'll ride in that vehicle for the next 50 years. You'll put away a little bit of money. You'll invest it in the 500 greatest stocks in the world. You'll be a multimillionaire 50 years from now if you invest $50, $100 a month for the rest of your life. You'll be a multimillionaire. So that's the vehicle. If you're an entrepreneur, no, that's not good enough for you. In fact, you hate the thought of actually working for somebody else and having somebody else tell you what time you got to get to work and how long you work until you can leave. And you just absolutely despise the job that you go to. You maybe enjoy the people, maybe it's okay doing what you do, but really you've always wanted to be free to do what you wanted to do. You want to be financially free. So your 7 questions, okay, what do I want? Okay, 5 years from now, what do you want? You're going to want some money. Okay, give me a number. How much do you want? What's your financial freedom number? Is it 5,000 a month? I'm talking US dollars now, so whatever currency you're in. Is it 5,000 a month? Is it 10,000 a month? Is it 20,000 a month? Don't give me a big number 5 years from now. Don't give me I want to make $1 million a month. That's ridiculous. Especially if you're starting from zero. Don't do those kinds of big numbers. Give me a number that your brain can literally think is realistic. Now you can change the numbers later, but start off with a realistic number. And that may go against anything you've ever read about how you need to think big all the time. Think big, think big. No, don't think big. Think small. And keep your word. You say you want to make another 10,000 this year, then go do it and go make it happen. Keep your word to yourself. Do the little numbers. Just do. Don't set a big number like $1 million, in a month, when the probability you'll do that is very low. So therefore you broke your word to yourself. Don't break your word to yourself. If 10,000 is the number, then make it happen. As they say, don't set goals, set habits. So habits start every day. Every day, what's your habit? So 5 years from now, how do you want to live? What's your life? So these 7 questions are really very basic. They're not complicated. It's not rocket science. The thing that most people don't do is they don't get specific with their numbers. So hold on a second. Let's see, where did I put my PowerPoint? There we go. So these are the books that talk about how you make money. They're usually as an entrepreneur, translated in many languages, but this first map that you create is answering these 7, what do I really want? And number 2, when do I want it? In other words, set a deadline. So if it's 5 years from now, well, this is the 22nd of September, 2022. So on the 22nd of September, 2027, this is the life I designed, and it's been numbered. In other words, the date, I've got a date now, that's a number. And what do you want? Well, specifically, you decide. Money-wise, what's your financial freedom number? Relationship-wise, who are the people that you love? And how do you prove that you love them on a daily basis? What do you do? What are the habit patterns you have around love? When it comes to your health, what are your vital signs 5 years from now? You want to be healthier, or do you want to be or less healthy 5 years from now? You want to be healthier. So what are your vital signs today? So you can measure them 5 years from now, and you can go to your brain. This is your computer, most massive computer. You say to your brain, I need to weigh X. My blood sugar needs to be Y. My respiration needs to be Z, X, whatever. In other words, there's numbers attached to it. Where will you be living at that time? So when you wake up in the morning on that day, where will you be? What city will you be living in? Well, where's your dream city? You still want to live in your country you're at now? You want to live somewhere else? Well, where is that somewhere? And then show me pictures of that somewhere. Show me the house you want to live in, or a house that's similar to the one you want to live in, or where you want to live in whatever city you want to live. Show your brain exactly what you want. Exactly. Because the more exactly you can share with your brain what you want, the more that message gets driven down into your subconscious. And one of my friends, he says, you're the rider, but the horse is what drives you. He says, as a rider, you're the conscious part on the horse. You're the rider. You direct it. The horse is what gives you the motivation to move. It gives you the power, and that's the unconscious part of you. And so when you feed your conscious mind with the dreams you want and get really specific about it, unconsciously, constantly, day after day, hour after second, your horse is this invisible part of you that is so powerful, is constantly be thinking about. While you're consciously worrying about how much food you got to eat today, your horse is thinking about and seeing everything that's going on around you and helping you figure out, well, let's take this route or let's take that route. So, on your daily basis, you're feeding your horse, basically. It's just a metaphor. That's the first time I've ever taught it that way. And he taught it to me yesterday, so I'm sharing it with you today. It's a fun analogy. So anyway, how much do you want? Now, get really specific. It's got to be a number. Every one of these questions has to have a number attached to it. If it doesn't have a number, then there's no way to measure it. How will you know if you got it? When you get here 5 years from now, how will you know you achieved it? If you don't have a number to show to somebody, to prove to somebody, I said I was going to do X, and here is the statement that shows I have X. I did it. How do you do that with a relationship, which is hard to quantify? How do you quantify a relationship? Well, these are the times you spend. For me, it's when my wife asks me to do something, I do it. She's number one relationship in my life besides my Heavenly Father. And so I put her first. She asks me to do something. I don't put it on my to-do list. I just do it. And how do I quantify that? Well, that's the number one. She's number one. So that's why we've been married for 45 years. And that's just what I do. I've learned over a long period of time that's just the best way to do it, right? Let her know she's number one. So that's a number, right? Who do you want on your team? Because there's got to be, you can't do this by yourself. Tom Painter was I'll use it as a quick analogy. I'm certainly not going to compare myself to Walt Disney, but just as an example, Walt Disney accomplished great things and people recognize his face, but they don't know who Roy Disney was because he was behind the scenes. But there would be no Walt Disney if it wasn't a Roy Disney. In other words, there are people that you need on your team that do things you can't do. And that's what Tom Painter did for me. He did things I could not have done without him. And therefore, you need people on your team like that, who do the things you can't do or don't want to do or not good at doing. So you got to form a team. Who's on your team? And who do you want to take with you to this ultimate dream down the road? Who is on your team? You know, Steve Jobs would say, every year of his 5,000 employees, he would pick the top 100 and he would take them on a retreat every year. And he would ask his top 100, he would say to them, if Apple goes down, you 100 are coming in the lifeboats with me. We're going to start another company if Apple goes down. You're my smartest, you're my sharpest people, you're my most connected people. We're going together. So tell me, what should Apple do next year? And he'd ask these 100 of his sharpest, smartest people. And they would tell him, we should do this, we should do that. And they would argue and fight until they have a list of 10 projects that should work on next year. And they'd argue the priority of those 10. And then finally, at the very end of that meeting, Steve took out his pen and crossed out the bottom 7. And he said, we can only do these 3. So he knew who was on his team. He knew who he wanted in the lifeboats with him. Who are your inner circle members that are in your lifeboats if things go down, that you'll call if things happen, if you have some challenges in your life, you'll call them. If they have challenges, they'll call you. You know, who are these people that you want to be with you? So, and then finally, the last 2 questions. Why are you even thinking that? Why are you even spending this time today with us? Why are you spending these hours with Tom and all the stuff he's put together? All the things for you to watch and learn and invest your time and effort into. Why are you even doing this? Because it's something that's deep inside you. It's that horse that's inside you that just drives you. I don't know why I'm doing these things. I just know this is my destiny. This is just what I do. And therefore, that's why you're here. And the life will try to distract you in a lot of different directions. But that's why you're here. That's why you've made this decision. You want to become more financially successful. Why do you do it? Is it because you have the love of your family? You want to take care of them. You want to give them the best life possible. You're willing to sacrifice yourself in order for them that you love, right? There's a lot of reasons why, but you got to identify them and write those things down and make them specific. This is really why I do this. Why do you? Then finally, okay, now it's okay. How do I do it? Now, what vehicles do I choose to get me to where I want to go? What do I do to accomplish the things I want, you know, that'll get me to my dreams? This is where weak people always start. They always start with the how. Well, how would I do that? But they don't ask the other 6 questions. The question that's more important is, why would I do that? That's the question. As you've heard 1,000 times, the quote is similar. If you have a strong enough why, you'll figure out the how. So Tom is teaching you lots of hows, how many ways of creating many vehicles that'll take you to your dream. So if somebody would ask me, you know, Robert, how do I become successful like you? You know, what's the first thing I should do? And I just taught you. I would ask those 7 questions very specifically. And most people, they don't think this way. They'll come up with these most generalizations of, you know, I want to travel around the world. Yeah, what specific country do you want to go to? Which country do you want to go to? Which hotel are you going to stay in? Then where are you going to go from there to the next country? Which country do you want to live to travel to? Get specific. And most people never do it. And therefore they never get what they want, because their brain, this powerful computer, your brain is the most powerful computer on the planet. So most of us don't use it. So the way you use it is you ask those 7 questions. And that's, I think, for this first segment, Tom, will that do for our first segment? And then we've got another segment to go to add to that.
Guys, I want to thank Bob so much for doing this first segment. You know, what's amazing is that I learned those 3 steps from Bob 20 years ago. And they are so true today. There's no difference today than they were from there. And you know, we had two sets of circles. The second one was time, people, and money.
Yeah.
Body, brain, and being, which is really your take one, first thing you do. And then you break it down into time, people, and money. And those are the 6 areas that you've got to work on to be successful. And I want to thank Bob for being in this first segment. I'm so excited to hear what's coming up in segment number 2. So from all over the world, thank you so much for watching. And remember, share the wealth. What is the wealth? The wealth isn't the money. The wealth is the education. It's the knowledge. It's the system, the strategy, doing it, and the motivation. You do all that, then you get the money. We'll be right back.